Eight, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, welcome to the show. Today I'm joined by George Mitrovic, Tommy Cullum, and Albert Humanoid. Changed his name by default. Albert Rosales.
I didn't know what
Welcome,
to put in
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. So we're going to do a bit of a round table, aren't we? Like a Q&A for everyone.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, Tommy Cullum, he does a podcast called Let's Get Freaky. It's not dodgy. It is about the paranormal. Well, he says this.
Yeah.
We don't actually know.
It can get dodgy.
Depends how much people pay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
So
I do most things.
So you're based in the south of England, aren't you? Is it Dorset?
Yeah. So I'm just outside Bournemouth. Yeah.
Ah, right. Okay. Cool. So obviously George is over in Oz, and Albert is over in the US.
Miami.
So,
yeah.
So that's why I've called it the Four Corners, because
Four
we are
Corners.
literally all in a corner and spread around the world. So, who wants to kick it off? Any takers?
I wanted to show George something that I have. Look at this, George. Psychic Australian magazine. I mean,
that hasn't been around for years.
I know you can't get it anywhere, and I was able to buy some on eBay. Cost me an arm and a leg, but I think it was worth it. I don't know. Do you have any copies?
No.
No. You see?
No. Being a gypsy over the years, things tend to disappear.
Yes. True.
That's the problem. You start unpacking, and you realize I was an editor of a paranormal magazine and alternative lifestyles, etc., in the 70s. And I had a whole stack of it. I had the entire series of monthly newspapers they sold. And I have no idea where they are. They just went one day and
never to be seen again.
Never to be seen again.
Well, Albert's probably just bought one.
Look, yeah. Previous owner George Mitrovic.
Yeah,
Mitrovic. No. Anyway, that's happened to me after 2 divorces. I lost half of my stuff anyway.
Yeah. I've never had a divorce, fortunately. I've got a wonderful wife, a fearless leader.
But the thing is, she does keep downsizing you.
Oh, yeah,
So-
we downsized, all right. This is small compared to what it used to be. My old library was 2 stories.
Yeah. But
This is only one dining room.
Can you fit all your books in there, let alone anyone else's?
I got a few. Basically, it's 3 walls that are floor to ceiling.
That's not too bad then.
Yeah. Got some beautiful books. I was lucky. I've got all of William Corliss's books, who you may or may not have heard of.
Yes.
And I was so lucky I got in touch with his son a few years ago. Unfortunately, a year after he died, I never actually met him. And I was able to buy all of his books from his library. His son was distributing the library on comets, asteroids, impact events, such specialized, beautiful books. Because Google him later, William Corliss, Corliss, probably the foremost researcher into the strange. And what would you call his work, Albert? It's everything to do with everything that can't be explained in
4chan,
phenomena, archaeology,
Yeah.
geology, astroarchaeology, you name it.
Everything.
All of these books, and I love them. And I was lucky to get these ones.
He did do a little bit into UFOs also, not that much, mysterious lights and light phenomenon and stuff.
Yes, he's got 3 volumes, I think, on different light phenomenon.
Yeah.
But nothing that can be explained. He just collected the unexplainable, which is what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
If this stuff is unexplainable, if this stuff is imaginary, if this stuff is fiction, to some schizophrenic delusion or something, with me and my background, with my research, and if you've ever been unlucky to read one of my books, I look for patterns. If things are delusional, if things are unusual, they aren't meant to form patterns.
No.
They should be random. I've even had my research checked by physicists to see what patterning's in them. And we discussed that before. Hello, goodbye. Come back, Andy.
I'm here. I'm listening.
Andy, come back. Come back.
I'm listening, George.
It is difficult to find a pattern and stuff like that. True.
Yes. Can you see me? Can I see you, or are we still black?
We can see
I can see you.
You can see you.
Oh, good. Okay, because my screen's gone black.
Oh.
But talk about patterns. Hello. Yeah, some of you might recognize that.
Yes.
The dreaded graph. And what's a graph got to do with it? This graph is a collection of thousands of anomalous data events from 1800 to 1977. The funny thing is they form sine waves. And they had that theory tested in 1994.
Yeah.
They actually do form sine waves, predictable patterns of occurrence, which makes it more interesting. It's strange not being able to see you.
We can see you.
I wonder if it's my computer that's gone on the fritz.
Check your monitor. Maybe you turned it off or something.
No, it's still on. I can hear you fine. But that's fine. I can talk in the dark anyway. I just can't take visual cues very well.
No, I wanted to show you another magazine, but I guess no.
Well, you can just describe it physically.
He can watch it back. It's fine.
I'll have to. No, this is the first time this has ever happened, that we've gone totally black on both screens.
Oh.
Well.
You sure it's not your connection?
No, otherwise I wouldn't hear you. Oh, hang on. One screen's
just
back,
seen
2
something
screens
light
back.
up.
You're back.
Hey.
That has been known to happen before.
Twilight Zone.
Yes. No, that was the thing. And it's funny with that little graph of thousands and thousands of entries in chronological order, 1800 to 1977, that they do form a pattern. They're not supposed to. All of our random Fortin events aren't supposed to form patterns. All of our UFOs are big feet. Chupacabras, mind you, there are only a few of them. I found a lot of times over the years that there's a lot of recycling in the awful world, where you've got 19 actual data points that seem to appear in 30 books. And they're 3 pages apart because somebody's describing their trip to the destination.
Yeah.
of their trip through their research. Because if you've seen my books, I'll have 7 data points to a page. You know, bang, 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 bang. Albert's very similar. You know, we don't do a lot of verbiage. We're
What I-
interested in the event.
What I notice sometimes is like when I find some kind of a case that's interesting that I haven't heard of before, all of a sudden I start finding similar cases in different spots of the world, UK, Australia, Russia, which and they follow the same. They're almost identical. And you say, well, a lot of people say that they're not, but they are. There are identical incidents. If you find them, you can find them. There's just so many out there. And my database is huge. My database is double now. It's almost 30,000 entries now.
Yeah. John Keel would have a lot to say about that. Tommy, have you heard of John Keel?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm reading
I know
book.
Albert's heard of John Keel.
Yes.
Albert would have cut his teeth on John Keel when he was about my age. I think you're a bit younger than I am. But he was one of the great authors and researchers of the 60s.
Yeah.
And 60s, 70s, late 50s. And his concept was that you start finding things, other things arrive to go with it.
Yes.
True.
And that's another weird part of the phenomenon.
This is my favorite book from John Keel.
Yes.
Mothman Prophecy.
Oh, the Mothman Prophecy. Oh,
He brought up the concept of the Mothman.
Yeah.
And I've got Mothman dating back to...
That's one of my favourite
couple
cryptids
of
of Mothman.
sporadic ones from the 19th century.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
North of August 1965, 1966. There were a few winged hominoids, and as you said, you look for one, and before you know it, there's a plethora of them flying over.
Yeah.
In particular areas, in particular regions, at particular times, and switch is gone, or some theories would say, that dimensional doorway is opened or closed. Here they are. Oh, sorry. You know, the 752's leaving platform 2 3/4, and they're gone again.
Yeah.
Back to their dimension or wherever they come from.
Yeah.
And I know I used to drive people mad with trying to explain how the interdimensional physics worked, and I've mentioned it on programs and watched people glaze over while I was doing it, so I'm not doing that anymore.
No.
We'll leave quasar vacuums out.
But just a quick one. I'm going to plug it now while you mention John Keel. On the 31st of this month, doing it's a film, TV show and book review. Me and Chris Meek from Scottish Paranormal Podcast. And we are actually reviewing the Mothman Prophecies book, not the movie. So I'm in the middle of... I was going to say reading it, but I'm actually listening to it on Audible. And it's nearly 9.5 hours long.
I can't get into Audible books yet. No.
I've listened to a few, and I've read the book about 3 or 4 times, but I just need to go over some bits of the detail and what have you. So we're doing that on the 31st.
Cool.
And then it's going to be at 7 o'clock on the Wednesday, and then every 6 weeks. It's all going to be paranormal and supernatural based. So we're going to do movies because we did the 4 shows on the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, but they've brought another season out, so they're on season 4. So we're going to watch that and then do a review and pick it in what we thought was going on and why they didn't do this and why they didn't do that. So it's going to be a mix of everything. So that's every 6 weeks, all being well.
Cool, man.
So, just throw that in quick.
I need to read the Mothman Prophecies, man. I need to read that.
Yeah, you
read that. Don't watch the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, the movies.
It's okay if you don't read the book.
Right.
Okay.
Get what I mean.
That's normally the way, isn't it? The book's normally better.
But the movie's too
compact.
Too cliche. It's too movie-like.
Yeah, it is. They just make up stuff,
Yeah.
Just like Fire in the Sky. I thought it was.
I watched that the other day. That film.
Yeah. See, I've not read the book on that, but I've watched the movie, and I was like, all the way through it.
How close is that to the book?
Fire in the Sky.
Fire in the Sky. No, it's the scenes that they show on board the craft. They changed it a lot because
Really?
he wasn't covered up like in the movies. They show him covered up with some kind of film or something, and he gets up and screams. He was tied down, but they changed it around a lot. It's
Really?
quite different, yeah.
Because they was also wearing like suits, weren't they? The aliens.
Yeah, they
In the
were wearing
movie?
suits. Yeah, and then in the real incident, they were wearing suits, and there were two types of aliens. There were like the short grays, and he met a couple of Nordic type entities on board the ship.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to call them Venusians, as I used to call them in the 40s and 50s.
Yes.
Orthon from Venus, and it's amazing how every different planetary realm has a different physiological type, but we know that nothing can live on those particular planets. It's where the direction is rather than the actual objection, which is they're not from Venus. They might come via Venus, but they've come here to tell us they're from Venus. But we're talking about a whole different multiverse.
Yeah.
Because we've got gates and portals opening and closing constantly.
I heard that they could be from Venus, but not the Venus that we know. Maybe a different Venus in another dimension.
Yes.
It could be.
That's interesting, man.
And yet a postulate I put forward in a lot of my books is that when the person or the observer meets the object of the occurrence, in other words, they're wandering down the road at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're not pissed, they're not drunk.
You'll get told
And next second it's Holy Mother of God. Somebody is here. There's a mechanism in the human brain that will try its best to convert the unknown into something knowable.
Yeah.
It will translate that. If you're highly religious, there's a Virgin Mary in a tree. Why in a tree? Or a cave? Caves I can sort of understand. But a lot of it, Virgin of Guadalupe and others, they're in a tree. Okay. Virgin Mary's like standing in a tree. Hunters might see, Bigfoot or some other large hominid come crashing out, or giant pumas like our little mate in Surrey that's been around lately and has been around since the 19th century. It's the advantage of doing long overviews on things. You find the strangest things aren't that new. They've been around for ages, just no one bothered to report them generally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you've got others who are more scientific, and suddenly they are meeting Orthon from Venus, or a Grey, or the two great standbys, the spineless ones from the Pleiades from the Serpent constellation. Please insert legends here. And the Pleiadian legends are, very strangely, if you study archaeology and mythology, which I've written on as well, they're the same. That's where it gets interesting. The cross-current similarity of origin stories. And then you've got Orion on the other side, warlike, terrible, crashing down through the skies. Where is there really a difference between the rest of the multiverse and here? And there goes my screen again. But I'll keep going.
You got to refresh it. Like run the mouse a little bit, and the should become.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's going to screensaver.
You got it on
dickhead.
timeout.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to say on air, but you beat me
I'm
to
68 tomorrow, so bear with me.
Happy
I'm
birthday,
not
man.
young. I am a survivor of the 60s and 70s, so there's not much lurking up here.
Yeah.
It's basically a void. That was purely a generational thing.
It's coming back. No.
A few of them are coming back. We're sold that technological problem, old dickhead with computer, or an old geezer. I'm an old geezer. I love being an old geezer. I remember when I turned 50, there's a really conservative right-wing radio station called 2GB, and all it is shock jocks going on about how evil everything is these days and how the politicians are all dickheads and blah, 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 blah. And the radio in my car turned over to it on my 50th birthday. I thought, this is weird. Because I can't stand these old coots. They drive me crazy. I haven't had it on since.
You've not been in the car, that's why.
That's
Sorry.
my commuting's by train, that wonderful 2-hour train trip I did for the last God knows how many years.
Yeah, rather you than me.
Job's a job.
I
How
know,
else do you
but
buy books?
you don't. Audible, told you.
I've got podcasts on Audible now where I read excerpts from my books.
Oh,
Some
do you do
people
the reading
reckon
yourself?
Yeah, I did
You
my
do
own
the right-
reading, complete with tongue twists, tongue trips, garblings. They
Yeah.
get the real thing. It's not a polished script
Ah.
of somebody reading this thing effortlessly with no mistakes or anything. It's me tripping my tongue over things, probably mispronouncing local names. Who cares? I'm talking to you. You don't want to talk to me? Turn it off. It's a simple system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's great. It helps people. I don't charge for them. People wanted to hear me on the move, so they do it. I do it for Spotify. Not Spotify.
right.
It's on Spotify. It's on Apple. It's through BuzzFeed.
BuzzFeed, I've heard.
Buzzsprout? Or
Buzzsprout. Yeah. And they send it off to everywhere else. I just record a new one every few weeks. I allow an hour because the end of an hour, my throat's stuffed. And I've tried drinking every different concoction under the sun and my throat's still stuffed. It's amazing. Talking and reading are two totally different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I enjoy it.
Yeah. Right. Well, moving on, we have our first question.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So,
no.
this is from Bim Jim. So, hello, Bim, or Jim, or both. The question is, why are some people afraid of everything paranormal?
good question.
They don't know anything about it, and they think that it's all negative, which is not. I mean, that could be they're afraid of getting hurt, I imagine. But it is a good question.
I think it's a control thing because you can't control the paranormal.
True.
I think a lot of people like to be in control, and because they're not in control of it, I think that scares a lot of people. And that's why a lot of people dismiss a lot of things, I think.
Yeah, because they're scared. So they say,
Because if something's going to happen, if something's going to happen, what can you do about it?
Yeah.
Cultural programming. My religious background says this is evil. Mind you, it's trying to defend its turf, so it immediately pisses on everything else, which is, who are the original witches that were being burnt? Healers.
Right.
Yeah.
Herbalists.
Yes.
People who were doing something for the community, not some guy in a black cassock who decided, well, I'm the conduit to God and I've got the power here and watch out if you do anything. We'll burn you. I've never quite worked that one out. As Albert and Tommy said, what is a paranormal? The first thing is the paranormal is anything you can't understand. Why are you afraid of it? Some people are naturally afraid of everything, like most of the modern generation. But I won't say anything like that.
No, Flake. Sorry, carry on. Anyway.
It's anything you can't understand.
Yeah.
That defies the realm of logic or your logic. The thing is, there's a meta logic. Sorry, Facebook. There's a meta logic that transcends all of that. You know, we had to keep changing our view of logic. We had to educate people, like Tommy's doing through his programs, Albert does through his books. These things, yes, some are scary. Some will scare the crap out of you. I've been scared the crap out of some of this stuff. Holy mother of God, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
But it's like a good explorer. You've got to keep going. You've had that first hit. You've got to get a better one.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how the phenomena gets better ones along the way.
Yes. Well, that's it. Once you start off at one, like you just said, you get more and more.
Yeah.
It's opening that first door. And after that, it's domino effect, isn't it?
Believe me,
Yes.
I try to stop a couple times. I'm done with this. I tried,
Yeah.
but no, I was compelled going back, and now I gotta go back.
Yeah.
Have you ever
Yeah.
I've
found though it just stops? It just stops for whatever reason, and then nothing happens for could be years.
Could be, yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I think it's
depends on how you allow it in.
Yeah,
You've got to allow it in or allow it out or learn what to do with it. And we don't want to sell it. We're starting to get paranoid, but it's a whole mixture of everything.
yeah,
Whether they're entities you've created from your own subconscious or your own fear, or actual visitors from elsewhere that are coming along for a tourist trip via your fears and imagination or your likes or elsewhere, you've got to learn to detach. One of the best ways of detaching I've got is I go through my notes and I've got thousands and thousands. I mean, I've written thousands and thousands of pages. It's amazing how actually tedious and boring most of it is. It's Albert said earlier, it's the same sighting. It's the same event.
yeah,
Just the location has changed.
yeah.
And suddenly you realize, oh, it's standard Bigfoot script 497. Yes. The only thing it's not doing is tap dancing. And more than likely I'll find one next week that's tap dancing. That's how it works. John Keel would understand that fully.
Yeah.
It's what we're allowing you to hear at the same time.
I just posted a case in my humanoid page on Facebook about a Bigfoot sighting along with a UFO landing, and the Bigfoot was seen gliding towards the UFO on the ground, and then it disappeared, and the UFO took off. This happened back in the,
wow.
Yeah.
1968, Pennsylvania, Uniontown, event like that.
right, similar to that one.
UFO
Yeah.
landed, yeah, and down, and instead of off on, it's Chewbacca's cousin. But it's interesting about Chewbacca's cousin. A few 19th century reports in Wales, at early 20th century, the 1906 spike, the 1910 spike, a couple of it. Lethbridge sighting, probably the most interesting as far as a hairy hominid. Huge gentleman on this airship wearing what appear to be fur coats and hats. Okay, we're going towards it. Not
Yeah.
quite described as giant bears. I do have a 16th century one of a bear driving a sphere down a laneway. I saw this sphere come down the laneway in England, and it was round and it was hitting the sides of the hedgerows and those wonderfully wide English roads, and there was a bear driving it. Okay, how the hell do you imagine that in 1615 in England? Themes continuing.
Wow.
And then in the early 50s, October 6th to 15th, 1954, we've got little big feet, little furry ones. Average height, 3.5 to 4.5 feet, wandering around in association with UFOs.
In Venezuela, yeah, they attacked a couple.
Same year. They were
yeah.
November 1954. Once we
Yes.
got to Caracas, the famous jockey sighting,
Right.
and there are a few others from the same period. Why are themes suddenly appearing? Not just one. Themes.
Yeah.
Themes aren't imagination. These are non-related people, non-related cultures, non-related countries.
Yeah.
These are this strange graph system. These are all sine waves. Sine waves are repeatable.
Question for you then. So when these portals open, the portals opening are only coming from one particular dimension, or can there be, say, 3 or 4 portals open, each one leads to a different realm?
The simplest way of answering it is we've got 5 major harmonics, 515 years. These were deduced by a Pasteur Prize-winning physicist in 1994. It took 12 weeks to load the data in the primitive computer he had at the time. We found one period of 515 years. The next one was 125 years, 89 years, 73 years, This is a periodicity in the phenomena. And then it turned into fuzz. And we worked out that these periodicities were the same as the major planets of the solar system, the same electromagnetic the same periodicity of the major planets, or very similar, except we discovered one at 515, which everyone's talking about now.
Yeah.
But Christopher Illett and I discovered it in the middle of 1994 at 515 astronomical units from Earth. An astronomical unit is a distance from the Earth to the Sun. And these other periodicities matched very closely to the major planets. Remember, we were using a computer system that has the brain of that these days.
Yeah. Back in, Gateway.
They had no hard drives. They had only a CP3, a CP3M floppy disk.
Nothing.
Yeah.
That big.
Compare.
Nothing. And they cost a fortune. My first laptop was $4,800. It had CPM free. It had a 4-inch orange screen. It weighed 30 kilos. It was called a portable. And in 1978, 77, that cost me $4,800 Australian.
Jeez.
Wow.
The year later, I bought an Olivetti 1 megabyte hard drive. They'd invented hard drives. It was described as flying a Learjet with a dirty windscreen. It was $12,000. The average car was $3,000
Wow.
in Australia. Brand new, fresh off the floor from
God.
Chrysler to you.
I thought my Mac was expensive.
Now, you just pick one up. The one I'm using now is $4,000. So I need a reasonable one because I've got so many files on books, and this stupid thing duplicates them all the time. I want one. I was looking for a book I wrote recently, and I've got 900 copies it's decided to make of some of them. It really annoys me. And you can't start deleting them because you're going to delete all of them.
Yeah.
That's the problem when you've got 110 books at least, plus drafts and manuscripts.
George,
there is more to the multiverse than we could ever even imagine.
Yeah.
Or as Macbeth said to Horatio, there is more to our knowing, more to our knowledge, and we will ever learn.
Yep.
So interesting, man.
That's wonderful.
It is.
George, when did you write your first 2 books? Was these the one one that you had cases all the way to 1977 and the UK?
That's the first series.
Yeah.
The first one is only available on, it was Gateways to the Gods. It's the second one, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's only available, I've redone it as a series of 4 books. It's called Gateways to the Gods, 1,713 pages. Too big for a paperback. All listed in chronological order, all listed with latitudes, longitudes, places. And you try to do an edit in that damn thing when you've got 10 data fields at the bottom of it. I wanted a book you could read on a computer that people can just say, oh, I'll just enter these 2 initials like HH. And it was hairy humanoid. Yeah. And it would bring up every single sighting of one in the entire book, just using a search field. But this was 2010. It was in the dark ages. I know, it sounds strange. For 2010, it's the dark ages, but in computer books, that was the dark ages.
Computer,
You could barely do anything with it. But I wanted these books so you could come in like me. Maybe I've got an attention span of a newt. I'm not quite sure. And I wanted to say, so every time I did a new edit or a new data point, and I've got bibliographies in all my books, every single one of them. My sources are there. It's not these books I'm reading which are, oh, they're great. Where are the sources? Oh, there's this big blank at the end. No, you find a book if you can find it. Read it. It's there. You know where it came from. There's enough that have been published to worry about instead of just making stuff up on the fly, which I'm sure some people do, but I can't say that. Well, I just did, didn't I? Now for that most wonderful part, which is this is a part where I've totally forgotten what I was talking about. Yes. Anyway, you do one edit in Gateways of the Gods. You don't just put the paragraph in. you had to change the entire number sequence manually. And then you'd say the number sequence again. So you
forget
knew
it.
that whatever one you looked at this one, it was number 937 in the series. It was designed for researching.
Yeah.
That's just. I would never ever be doing anything else. I'd just be
did that.
doing that for the rest of my life.
I started that in 1974. And like now, I work every night. I finish work at work. I come home, I do my domestic duties, prepare dinner, make sure madam's right, make sure madam goes to bed, turn off the TV, I edit. That's been my habit for many, many years. So basically, I'm at a computer 12 hours a day. And weekends, it's even better. I get to do 10 or 12 hours of editing.
Wow.
Because you need to.
Yeah.
Except madam told me, drags me out every now and again, and my doctor's got me on vitamin B12 and shots, sprays. And 2 days a week, I'm not allowed to edit. They said, no, you're using up your brain too much in your eyes. And he's right. I'm having vestibular migraines these days where everything goes like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I do that. I do that with my database too. Daily, I update it, correct it, edit it. It's like it takes a lot of time.
It does take a lot of time.
It does.
Because I'm fussy about my data. Originally, I started off with I will only use data from 3 separate published sources, and I've stuck to that. Published sources only. As I write in the foreword of every single book in the last few years, I'm sorry, I cannot include what your nana saw. Because your nana forgot to mention where it was or when it was.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate that.
To me.
Yeah.
And a lot of books you find. And then sometime in the 1930s or early in the 20th century, somebody in Slippery Hollow saw gee, great for research. Which part of the 20th century was that again? And did you mention where Slippery Hollow was?
You know, and I read you read about an incredible case from another book, but no date, no location. So I contact the author. They answer, no, I can't give you that information because blah blah blah. Oh, just give me maybe the year. I mean, what's the harm with that? The year, maybe the general location. I don't want the name and phone number of the witness. I just need a location. I mean,
And then you start thinking, with these articles written for the National Enquirer, sometimes the most amazing sightings, not all of them, just a very small speck of them, are total bullshit.
Yeah.
They don't even fit into my patterns. They would prove their case by stating, yes, it happened at Upper Frogmore. It did happen at least in January 1947, which is a pretty amazing month. Really, July, August 1947 was even more. No, June to August was more amazing in 1947.
Yeah.
And 1897, no, that was April, followed by June, 1897. That was an amazing period that actually started. Tommy, have you heard of 1897?
No.
The Great Airship Flap.
No, I've heard of it.
Which started in November 1896, but they call it the Great 1897 Airship Flap, was suddenly all over, starting on the west coast, northwest coast, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, heading down the California coast. People start seeing airships.
Airships,
yeah.
Airships, all shapes, all sizes, all types of crews. You name it, we've got an airship for you. In that wonderful imagery of the time. Yeah, they're flying here, they're flying there, they're dropping things. One dropped a potato, others lose newspapers, others drop things, others pick up things. There are conversations with landed ones. There are different theories. They're going to Spain. No, they're going to Cuba to fight the Cubans. The Spanish, they're going all over the place. It's wonderful. There's technology, some with propellers, one on each end. Great, except it can't fly. The ones with giant wings, they can't fly. Magnificent searchlights, no battery power in that period that could create that light. And they're saying they came from Trenton in New Jersey. Where do you hide a warehouse big enough for a jumbo jet in Trenton or some town in the Midwest that the neighbours would start getting a little suspicious of? That's where another Kentian, no, not Kentian, Keelian phenomena occurs. And that is, the phenomena are always one step ahead of the technology that we perceive at the time. There were no airships in this period that we know of. No recognised airships.
No.
Theories that there might have been one or two built, but these damn things are heavy and cumbersome because you've got to work out what is the power source for. Can't do them with steam. No petrol-driven engines of any great worth then either. You've seen the 1896 Daimler Benz. It's not a great limo. The thing would run a lawnmower. But whatever the phenomena are, and you start with the airships of 1896 to 1897, which are just that one step ahead of the public consciousness, and a lot of phenomena, all phenomena is consciousness and awareness of it. It's just as if you're writing fiction, you're saying this is where we're going to develop to. And in the 30s, we developed to ghost rockets. We developed to rocket phenomena. By 47, 46, 47, you've got the traditional seen months before Kenneth Arnold's sighting. Months before Roswell. Months before, I've got reports of 6 airship crashes in the Roswell region in New Mexico in that period. Are they true? Are they not true? Are they made up for the newspapers? I don't know. I report them. You work out what to do with them. I put them there. You see if there are similarities or differences. Some of them might be the same report. Somebody's put the wrong place on it, or they've used a local name, and the other one's used a map name. They might be the same spot. And that happens. The same sighting, 3 names, is the same one. But I can't differentiate. I have to use the names in the reports and maybe suggest sometimes. And then we get to the 80s, 90s, you got triangular airships or triangular UFOs charging around the place.
Yeah.
And yet the funny thing is, all through history, we still get the circular ones.
Yeah.
Even in the 17th and 18th century.
They don't go away.
They don't go away.
No.
Are they from here? Are they from another planet? Are they from another dimension? They're from bloody everywhere. And here. Because once again, we get back to the first concept. This person is converting what they're seeing into what they understand. They have to, or they'll just go stark raving mad. Because they can't comprehend the phenomena. So in early days, it became a religious phenomena, or a superstitious phenomena, or a phenomenal phenomena.
Yeah, it's a way of controlling.
Paranormal phenomena. It's a way of staying safe.
Yeah.
But does that really tie in with why does the technology, the apparent perceived technology, always just stay that little step ahead? Could we even say that some other civilization is just sort of, you're doing well, we'll just show you what you can do next if you work hard at it.
Yeah. You
too might be able to build something like these or do something like this. So where do we start? Where do we go? Are these things created as illusions? Are they coming through what I call the quasar vacuum? But we're not going into the discussion of that because it drives people mad, and I'm going to kill this effing mouse.
It's your monitor. It's not the mouse.
I know, turning itself off to save itself. See, its comprehension is, I must turn this off within 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, and I've got no idea how you stop it. Actually, it's never done this before. But
you guys heard of this book? The Age of Flying Saucers.
There's Paris Vermont. It's up there somewhere.
I've not read it.
No, you heard about it?
I've not seen that.
No.
I've heard of the author.
This book is written in 1970 or 71, and it talks a lot about the early history of contactees and stuff like that.
Mm.
Very interesting book. And, a lot of information there.
Cool.
This is relatively underrated. Paris
Yes.
Flamand. He did a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right. Some of the.
Sorry.
Like some of he has images of some of the early contactees. That's Howard Menger there on the right. He was one of the lesser known contactees from George Adamski and the others from California.
Yeah.
There's only one thing I argue with about Adamski. When I grew up in North Wagga, which is in the middle of nowhere in Australia, in New South Wales, in the bush, on a farm, in a remote floodplain, we used to raise chickens in cardboard boxes.
Okay.
Raise them?
With a chook warmer.
Okay.
First time I ever saw Adamski's book, I looked at it and I said, it's a chook warmer.
Yeah, that's what they say.
With the same 3 globes under it. But not all of them are chook warmers. Only some.
Oh.
You've still got to go through the chaff to find the gold.
Yeah.
And I get into arguments with everybody in this field. There are people who don't like my theories. Well, that's too bad. I've got to still keep asking those questions that really hurt a raw nerve at times.
Excuse me.
Because it involves looking at all the data. It involves looking at all the photos, all the research. I mean, Albert's research is amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, I love good research. I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Keel, Steiger, even our old mates from, oh God, the Paleolithic period.
He's gone.
Yep.
He's gone for a wander. We'll come back with some shopping in a minute. we got where he got
up. Yeah, you forgot about
it. We have got some questions.
Oh, okay.
So while he's picking the book, should we go? Oh, he's back. Don't say a word.
Sorry, I don't have a long cord.
It's fine.
I mean, look at these wonderful classics. Flying Saucers, Uncensored.
Oh,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Wilkins.
Wilkins, yeah.
And there's the original with its dust jacket.
And you got the hardback, yeah.
I got the hardback. I like hardbacks.
Yeah. Wow.
And Gerald Hurd, The Riddle of the Flying Saucers is another world watching. Be tuned. The Coming of the Spaceships. Amazing books. I like them with their dust jackets. And of course, dum da dum dum dum.
Oh, Amy Mitchell.
The first edition.
Wow.
As far as I know. In English, not in French.
Ooh.
Those like collector items.
1957.
Yeah.
They were still with its original.
Wow.
Whatever. I mean, these are amazing. These are the dawn of research.
Yeah.
I like Harold T. Wilkins. He had a lot of stuff in there.
I've got all of his books.
Yeah.
They have a way of questioning the data and still enjoying it. You read the books and you can get a belly laugh or you can get a total enjoyment.
He had a lot of information. Yeah, he had a lot of information, but a lot of it did not. He like, I mean, I don't know.
He garbled it.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Sometimes it was garbled, and sometimes I've got a lot of, damn this thing, I've got a lot of, probably 1 linear meter of atlases. And I mean, that's spine to spine to spine to spine.
Yeah.
Plus atlases I've found on the internet. If I can't find a spot in those atlases and the internet, you don't use one site. You've got lots you've got to use.
Yeah.
To find that intersection in the middle of nowhere, just outside almost the middle of nowhere, near God only knows where this is. And you've managed to find God only knows where this is, and you've managed to just get to the middle of nowhere. But where it is in the middle of nowhere, once again, I go back to living near Wagga, driving along through the country years ago in an ancient Holden, which was a General Motors vehicle. We don't make them anymore, unfortunately. We don't make any cars here anymore, which to me sucks, but that's a totally different rant. And you come to a sign, and the sign says Maxwell. And the sign is all that's left of the village of Maxwell.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it used to be there, and sometimes
It
people
used to be there, and its sign's still there, and a bit of a tennis court's still there. The rest is gone. So you've got to allow for that in these.
yeah.
They're gone. But I like to try and find them, and find the references to them in old books of the period that say, yeah, it was near here. It was at the bottom of that.
Yeah.
And I like that. I find that fun. I mean, England, you'd be constantly searching for medieval villages that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, they
actually
keep
modern
finding them and putting
Yeah.
signs up.
Yeah, or modern towns off of Yorkshire coast. Yes,
Yeah.
which is now.
We've got a lot of historic market towns
Yeah,
Yeah.
that they keep popping up
and,
every
and
200
historic
yards.
ports 15 miles inland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Well, that's
much.
it. That's mapping. Mapping's very important with this stuff. I want
Yeah.
to know where this thing happened.
Yeah.
It's
Where and when.
because then you'll start finding. I know I tend to take over things. This is what triggered me into phenomenology years ago, to
Yeah.
a degree. I'd always read about phenomenology. When I was 6, I read The Mountains of Thero by Leonard Cottrell. When I was a nerdy kid. I was totally crippled. I could barely walk, but that's a different story. So I read. And when I was about 8, I managed to get a copy of the Philadelphia Experiment and the Allende letters. I hope the Spanish was correct for that, Albert. Allende or Allende.
Allende is good. Yeah,
Allende.
Allende
And then
letters.
once that started, you've got the Philadelphia Experiment in there, and it just exponentially took off with the works of Wilkins, Steiger, Keel, the older, and Fort, of course, have got all these works, and it just grows. And my brain tends to run in its own series of dimensions. Sometimes it arrives in Earth, but
Yeah. You know, Morris K. Jessup, the one
Yes.
he wrote the Allende letters.
it,
He committed suicide here in Matheson Hammock Park here in Miami-Dade County, not far
a
from
lot
where
of
I.
suicides in the research
Oh.
and disappearances.
Yeah, a lot.
But compared to the total number of authors, it's a small percentage. Some people like to create it as being a larger percentage. Once again, it becomes perception in which way you start following it. You start following a totally negative strain of it, and it builds up the negativity. And before you know it, you're stuffed
Mm-hmm.
because you're only getting negative data, and it's reinforcing what you're already creating.
That
Yeah.
what you already think. Yes.
Yes, it's a
Yeah.
Keelian thing. But what confused me was I was reading about, people in the commune on this side of a mountain, they're meeting orphan from Venus or whatever their name is, bringing them words of the end of the world coming in 1972 or whatever. Constant unplayed broadcasts. The other side of the side, and hairy hominoids being seen, Bigfoot to you and I, on the other side of the mountain. What? And then the clincher, I found one of these mountains that had a third phenomena, Virgin Mary in a tree. But hang on. We got 3 different groups on this mountain that don't really know each other. One's got UFOs and orthon and the celestial messaging. The other one's got things racing around, scaring the crap out of them with blazing red eyes, with or without wings. And this other lot's got religious miracles going on. Excuse me? What are the 2 constants here? It's not the phenomena. Turf for phenomena. The phenomena is totally subjective for purposes of this investigation. What the 2 constants are time and place. once you start seeing clustering,
Yeah.
and I found the clustering was occurring irrespective of the phenomena, just a type of phenomena manifesting in different ways was occurring in the one area. That's where it gets interesting. And once again, we get back to the graphs.
Yeah.
They're maps of clusters, just appear and disappear and appear. It's the breadth of the universe almost. Not to decry the quality of the observation or the interaction or the contactee case, because these are all real.
Yeah.
I know Albert's looking at me. What the hell is he talking about at the moment? But Albert knows exactly.
It's like what happened in September, October 1973 in the U.S. It was just like all the portals were wide open. Bigfoot, UFOs, Black Panther disappearances, USOs, underwater, UFOs, and there were all kinds of stuff happening. I remember I was in high school, and I read about this stuff in the newspapers. I read about the Pascagoula abduction in the newspaper.
Hickson, yes.
Hickson and Parker, yeah. And this was incredible what happened. In my files now, between September and November 73, I have more than 100, maybe 200 cases of humanoid only encounters during that time, and God knows how many other type of encounters. The regular close encounter of the second kind, first kind, saucers, whatever.
That period, especially mid-October, was phenomenal because we had various phenomena occurring in the river, not just the Hickson case.
There was an underwater UFO in the same Pascagoula in November, right after their case, about a month after.
Interesting.
These clusters are amazing, and then suddenly it's gone.
Yeah.
Reappearing elsewhere at a station near you. I mean, Tommy, you see those red books up there on that shelf, that middle shelf? That's a set of 7,000 pages in 22 volumes I finished recently.
Wow.
And they're in chronological order.
Wow, man.
Wow.
That's a lot of work.
That took me months.
Yeah.
And that's in my database with a lot of editing. And that's all just phenomena like this that we're discussing.
It's amazing, man.
Because information needs to be kept. That's the other thing about, as our first questioner said, why are we afraid of this? Why are people scared of this? We have got to write this stuff. We've got to publish this stuff. We've got to show people. But this stuff is not going to, it might scare the bejesus out of them at times, but it won't in a lot of cases. But they have to know it exists.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me, why do you write books? Why don't you just write it all on the net? I said, because one day the net's going to be gone like my great-grandmother's gramophone. Dead as a dodo and nothing you can play on it.
Yeah.
Or Edison discs, wax discs. You try saying that quickly. From the 1880s and 90s. But I got a book. I wrote a book. And when was this? 1957. 70 years later, it's sitting in a thrift shop somewhere. Or a UFO researcher's library.
Yeah.
And it's still there. And there's no special key to opening it. You just look. I've opened it. I don't need a password.
Yeah.
I can smell it. I can imagine how many other people have read this before me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've even got their name. No, there's no. 1957 first edition, written in crayon in the front of it. And the price I paid for it, which I paid $35 for it 10 years ago.
Wow.
Well, it's probably worth more than half.
It's probably worth.
Yeah, so it's going to be at least double that now.
Mm-hmm.
They have a history of research. They had a history of doing this.
Yep. Right. Are we ready for some more questions?
Yes.
Yeah. Have we answered
We've
the
got a
first
few. Sorry?
Okay. We'll have to be
We've done
faster.
one.
I'll have
We've
to be
done one
faster.
in an hour, so we're not doing bad.
Remember, gentlemen, Tommy, Albert, I know you're both polite. Tell me, shut up for Christ's sake. We'd like to answer this.
You shut the F up, George.
No, I'm enjoying this, man.
Right. So next question is for George off Bim Jim, and he wants to know: have you ever experienced telepathy?
I'm sorry, it's a bit fuzzy at the moment. Yes, I can't remember when, but I know I have.
Ah,
I know I've picked up messages at times.
yeah.
And I thought it might have been schizophrenia, especially the ones who kept telling me to jump in front of trains and cars. Once again, and I'm not joking.
Yeah.
This brain can do
Wow.
the strangest things.
Yeah.
You know, it tells me constantly you're a failure. You've never accomplished anything. Excuse me, what are you talking about? What have I accomplished? It's all published behind me.
Yeah.
Is it a negative side of it? Yes, I've experienced telepathy. I know exactly when I get home, my wife rings me. That's phone telepathy. Doesn't matter how long I've been away. I step in that door, that phone rings, and it's her.
Yeah.
That's the phone telepathy. She knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I could work out to stop this screen going black permanently, it'd be even better. Yeah, I think we're all telepathic.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're picking up nuances from each other all the time.
I think we have all of us have that capability, but it's just dormant in us. I believe.
It's tuning into it, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And practicing it.
And practicing.
Yeah, definitely. Right.
'Cause we all think of someone, and then we've all had that thing where we think of someone, and then you get the phone call half an hour later from them.
Daily.
You've seen them for years, and it's
Well,
mad.
you get the feeling, and suddenly, and then you find out, they carked it.
Oh, get this.
Yeah.
So yesterday, there's one of my mates. He's normally in the chat. He used to come out investigating with me. Not spoke to him for a couple of months, but when I did, the signal on his phone was so bad it was really difficult to talk to him. And then it's either yesterday, I think it's the day before, I rang him. The day before that, he literally upgraded his phone. So that's not a coincidence.
That's the universe talking
I
to
could
you.
have rang him at any point, and he just finished. He's upgrading it to the new version of Android and what have you. And then I rang him within minutes.
I don't believe in coincidences.
No, not like that.
No.
That's too coincidental.
Yeah, man.
That was well weird.
Yeah.
I'd ring him. I won't look at the time. I'd just ring him when I got a chance because of my job. And most of the time it was 11:11 or 13:13. And he's like, "You're not gonna believe this, Andy. Look at the time." And I just start laughing because it was just double numbers.
So there's a good chance all of us may believe in telepathy.
Yes.
Okay,
100%.
next question, please.
Next question. So this is for all of us from Nickname. And she would like to know, what phenomena are you most comfortable with being real and true, and why?
Ooh, good question.
Tommy, you go first.
I like it all. I love everything paranormal. It's a great question. Spirits and entities around us. I like that because it tells us that there's something else out there.
Yeah.
When you pass, there's possibly more, which is always a nice thing to know.
There's something else.
Yeah, and I believe there is 100%. For me, I've seen things, I've seen spirits and stuff, so I know there's something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me that is quite comforting to know that there's more.
Yeah. Yeah. Albert?
Well, the one that I'm most comfortable with, I guess it will be encounters with unknown entities, being either spiritual, humanoid, extraterrestrial. It gives me a sense we're not alone, that we're not just us alone here on Earth, that there's something else out there with us. And that's about it. It gives me a feeling that there's something out there, that we're not alone. That's one question that always been on my mind.
Yeah. George?
The most comfortable. I'm comfortable with almost all of it. But one thing I was thinking of while the gentlemen were discussing it is one of my hats is I'm also a Bowen therapist, Bowen, which isn't that well known, but it's a form of healing, a gentle muscle release
Yeah, yeah.
therapy, where you don't just constantly massage a person, you do a particular move on a particular spot, leave them for 2 minutes, come back, continue the sequence of moves. It's amazingly powerful. My wife's a practitioner of it. It takes government accreditation, so it's a bit more important than become a
Yeah.
Reiki master in 2 days. And a lot more work. You need diplomas and things. But you feel the power of the founder of it. It was a fella in Geelong in Victoria, in Australia.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just feel it coming through you as you're doing the touching on the people. And you know that it's working.
Yeah.
It's not just some muscle release. You're using knowledge that he's managed to. No one really knows where he got it from. There are lots of theories, but he was exceptionally effective, far more effective than physio, chiro, and osteo, and it still is. And you can feel that comfort that you can heal people with it. You can do positive things with it.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense to all of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he does. Yeah. I wish I had that capability that I was able to heal people. That's what I wanted to do when one of my dogs had cancer. I would grab her leg where she had the cancer, and I would just pray that she would get better. But of course, I lost her. But that's
Yeah.
Well, you hold her in your heart. She's there.
yeah.
Yeah.
She always will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luna.
Right. So mine, I've actually just found a picture because I can cheat and I can go into the computer and add things up on it. So mine is the light beings. So this is what I was talking to you about, Tommy and
Yep.
Albert. So this is what I recall my first ever encounter when I was around 3, maybe 4. So around 1977, 1978. And it's pretty much identical to this. There's only one of them, and it was on my bedroom wall, pitch black. And there's one of these on the wall where the bed was up against. And it was only about 6-7 inches ish. I thought it was smaller, but thinking about it, it was actually quite a little bit bigger. And this is what I seen. But it was like rotating. So it looked like the light bouncing off a record player, a turntable on the vinyl and bouncing up against the wall. And it just kept going round in the same pattern over and over. But it's very calming. And every time I see that picture, I don't know where that picture, I found that on Facebook or Google or something. But every time I look at it, I feel something from it, but all positive. There's no negativity whatsoever from that. I remember when I was in bed, just lay there looking at it. Next thing I'm waking up the following morning. So from me going to sleep to waking up, I haven't got a clue what happened. So, and that's that basically.
Amazing. Do these
That opened your key.
Yeah. Did it have like a figure or just humanoid?
It's just so I'll just put it up again. So the way that this, to me, that top bit where it's at the brightest, that's like its head, neck.
Yeah.
The bits that come out, like I suppose, like the arms, then legs near the bottom, and that is the only way that I could see. I couldn't see any facial features. There's no hands, no feet. Not like we've got, like you got your limbs, your elbow, shoulders, and all that. Exactly how you see it on the screen there.
Yeah.
It's just
that one on the right looks like it's got like a cloak on. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's
like interesting.
Yeah, and
I just, the more I think about it, the more, not the more I remember, but I remember the feeling that I got at the time. And it's just one of them. And I've, like, as you guys know, I've been told that I've got missing time. It quite possibly is from that evening. I without having any hypnotherapy or anything done, I haven't got a clue, to be honest with you. But that was a picture I sent you, wasn't it, Tommy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
When I shared our
when
episode, I put that on there.
yeah, because when I found that on the internet, I'm like, it's just one of them. It's like, oh, I can't believe that. Whether it's a legit fault or CGI, that regardless of what or how or why the photo was made, but that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it was the first encounter that I can remember. I think that's part of it as well. So
First encounters are interesting.
yeah,
There was an author called Desmond Leslie in the early 60s. His main works was, I think, 63, 64, and he used to equate ufology with demonology.
right.
You remember that, Albert?
I
In
remember
Desmond Leslie's books?
Desmond Leslie. He helped Adamski write his first book, didn't he?
That too, he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
And he used to equate both of them together.
okay,
And modern writers like, oh God, the guy who just did the documentary on Graham Hancock, he's written a lot about the realms of ufology and then the realms of the fairy realm because they're the same stories. But Leslie brought it up in the 70s and the 60s, early 60s. And I remember, and only because I can't remember most of my childhood at all. It's just blank. Gone, nothing there, nothing to see here, go on. But I do remember one night at our old remote country farmhouse in Wagga, walking out the backyard at 3 o'clock in the morning through the big French doors that led straight to the backyard.
Yeah.
And the sky was blazing red like those cover pieces on old English encyclopedias. They're just like red flames and purple and just swirling. And I think I was 8 or 7.
Yeah.
And I was walking relatively mobile by then. I'd had a severe car accident when I was 1.5, so it sort of stuffed me for many years. And Volkswagen tried to kill me. And I remember walking out, and there's this little creature walking up to me. And to this day, I don't know whether I saw a grey or I saw a demon. They both looked the same. Didn't say anything, didn't do anything. 3.5 to 4 foot tall. No, it was shorter than me, so 3.5 foot tall. I was about 4 foot then. Squattish head, wrinkly grey body. I can't remember much else about it because this shadow realm, or shadowlands as they call it,
Yeah.
when you venture, is amazing. And after that time, I went back to bed. After that time, until I was probably in my mid-20s, I would not go out in the dark. I was just terrified of the dark. So who knows what happened after that?
I was terrified of the dark too. Yeah.
And this locked up my entire everything, basically. So who knows? It managed to get rid of most of my memory of my childhood in that period. And I don't think I mentioned this to anyone. But was it a demon? Was it an alien?
Have you ever thought of having regression
No.
to try and find out, or do you not want to know?
No, I don't want to know.
No. Happy as
I
it
do
is.
enough research to find out what others have been through and what they've had. I had my head x-rayed, so there's nothing in there. Because they had to check for metals before MRIs. I have them in MRI almost every year now, plus other operations and things. And like this is my 14th cancer now. And
wow,
oh, shit happens, so you just keep going.
That's
And
just write a book.
Yeah.
I might one day. I tried writing an autobiography. I got to 35 pages and I thought I've run out of stuff to write.
Use bigger letters,
Yeah, I'll have to use bigger letters and smaller
bigger
paper.
fonts.
But what is the connection? This once again, it's all multi-dimensional. It's what we end up making of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I got into an argument of sorts. Like Graham Hancock brought out his latest book on the Dryad event. The Younger Dryas impact events of 10,900 BC. And I've written extensively on them years ago. I still do. And I came up,
Yeah.
I've got books with maps in them on impact events of masses of comets and meteorites striking the Earth. Not one,
Yeah.
a mass of them. And we could do another program on them alone. And his documentary has one. Excuse me? One. You look at the meteoric records of that period, 10,900 BC, you got more impact events you can poke a stick at.
Yeah.
And my books on it all have maps with where the impact events are.
You think we're due for another strike?
We're in the next cycle.
Next, yeah.
Not every 12,000 years we are. 12 is
okay.
the magic number.
Yeah.
But whether it's going to be a major strike or a lesser strike, we don't know.
We don't know. Yeah.
We survive every time.
The one in
We've been
65
here for a long
million.
time.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote a book about that.
Yeah.
Like Alvarez was not believed, and he was a brilliant scientist. He was at New Mexico working on the Manhattan Project. That's how brilliant this guy is, Alvarez.
Alvarez, yeah.
Brilliant scientist, Alvarez.
Yeah.
Brilliant scientist. He comes up with a theory in the 60s, late 60s, that a single impact event at Shishulub in Yucatan.
Yucatan.
I call it Shishulub because I use the old wording from the Nahuatl, or Nahuatl as well, of sh for an X, Shishulub. And it's only 60 miles across. It was only one, and they was howled down. It took another 10 years before people started looking at the fact his research might have something to it. I wrote a book on it a few years ago. I've got at least 7 for that period of 65 million BC. The one next to it, the Cuba crater, is 500 miles across. A little Shishulub sitting there. You know, you've got to keep looking at this stuff.
That one, you know, like a planet killer would be like the one, like you mentioned, 500 miles. I mean, crater.
Just bear with me.
He's off on his travels again. Right, while he does that,
I got a book for this.
yeah, I've got a question for you, Albert.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is from Nickname. No, is it? No, it's from Adam Sando. So, if you could spend a week researching anywhere on Earth, where would you go?
Oh,
Sorry, George, I've just had to butt in because I've got a question
right.
for Albert, and he's going to be leaving in about 10-15 minutes.
Okay, yes, we'll get back to Albert.
So, just a little interval.
any place on Earth, I would love to. I traveled to the Canary Islands once, and it's like a beautiful landscape, volcanic. That'll be a good place. The El Teide volcano. A lot of weird stuff going on there. I would love to like rent a cabin up there and stay up there. I would love to go to New South Wales. That's where George is from. A lot
You
of
can
stuff
always
over
stay
there.
with us.
Thank you. But that's one of my bucket dreams. And Liverpool, according to books that I read, there's a lot of weird stuff going on over there in Liverpool.
Without being horrible, that's just the people that live there. And I can say that.
Not only the locals.
Yeah. Some of my family live in Liverpool, so.
I thought you were talking about Bradford.
No, don't mention Bradford.
Don't mention the war.
Do you know what? I do know of a few accounts in Liverpool of like Bigfoot type sightings. I think one of them The last one that I got told is, I think it was late 80s, early 90s. Well, it's just outside Liverpool. It's Merseyside. So, pretty much the same place. But yeah, there's a few encounters up that way.
Well, I heard they have ghosts, of course,
Yeah.
demons, werewolves, Bigfoot type, leprechauns. The fairies. They have
Yeah.
time slips in Bold Street, one of the places there in Liverpool.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you
Yeah.
put that on Facebook the other day.
Yeah, they got all kinds of weird.
Do you know
phenomena.
what's
I mean, if you believe the accounts,
Can I just say that Bold Street, that's where the passport office is, and there's a newspaper printing place on there as well in Liverpool. So it's just a bit strange how you've got time slips going on there when they're the two of the biggest buildings on that street. A government office and a media coverage place.
According to Sleeman, he has most of those time slips. They go back in time, but a lot of them they go to the future. And he says that people have found themselves in alternative futures, like what would Britain look like back in like 100 years or 200 years from now, and it would be like a different time frame. It'd be like in one time slip, these two guys found themselves walking around a landscape where all they could see were women, and they were apparently they were in charge of everything there. They didn't see any other men, and they were like being stared at and stuff like that until they managed to go back. But that is weird. I mean,
yeah.
Can you imagine women taking over? I don't know.
It's happening.
Oh, it's already happening. That's why us four are sat here down there off taking over the world. Yeah. But no, where that Bow Street is, literally, if you go over the other side of it, you've literally got the Mersey. You've got the Liver building, and then you've got the Mersey there where you can get on the ferry and go wherever the ferry takes you.
Good name for a song.
Oh,
yeah. I know, I had it in my head and I did contemplate singing and I thought better of it.
We're glad you did.
Yes. Very. Right, sorry. I know you want to talk about that, George, but I just want to double check because I know Albert's got to go soon. So I just want to get another question.
Yeah, no, feel free.
Is that all right?
Yeah, of course it is.
Right, so here's one about cryptids. This is from Jojo. What cryptid scares you all the most and why? So keep this short and sweet because there's another question that I want to do.
All right.
Interesting.
Who wants to start? Go ahead.
Well, I'll go quickly because
All right,
I've already got one. The rake. Because I've heard of how it manifests. It's not just, it's a humanoid type entity that just pops up. I've heard stories of there's been like a bag or an object at the side of the road, and then it's morphed into this looks like an albino type, skinny, naked creature thing. It's just the way it comes from a different object and becomes this human-like creature. Yeah, that's creepy just on its own, regardless of what it looks like. And then with what it looks like, that's just awful. So yeah, the rake for me.
That'd be scary. Yeah.
Mine is the black-eyed children.
Yeah.
Anything to do with kids, ghost children, stuff like that freaks me out big time. I don't know what it is. If I'm watching a scary movie and there's like a kid ghost in it, that freaks me out.
You're done. Turn it off.
That's what does me. Yeah, The Shining with the two twins in it. Oh man, no, don't like it.
Yeah.
I've still not watched that movie.
Yeah, it's a great film, but man,
No, I'll miss that one. Albert?
I would say like a skinwalker. Skinwalker is like a shapeshifter, and they could, change shape to whatever they want, and they could, They could be a snake, a bear, a crow, a wolf,
And you wouldn't even
a
know.
werewolf, or a regular person. And I read a lot of accounts, and they're pretty scary. I mean,
Yeah.
I will say that. Your turn, George.
I'm pretty traditional. I don't really worry about any of them. I like all of them. But the one I don't like, the chupacabra, I think it's an ugly, vicious little bastard. And it looks ugly and vicious. I just don't like them.
No,
Chupacabra. The
Yeah.
chupacabra, yeah.
the goats.
Yeah, and they're like they were originally encountered in Puerto Rico back in
Yeah.
'95, and there were reports before then,
Yeah,
but
there are.
but not that many. But then for some reason they just went wild in '95 in Puerto Rico.
No
Then
peak
they went to
periods. Yeah.
they went to Mexico. They even went to here South
Texas.
Florida. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Crazy, but
Right.
yeah, they're nasty.
Right. Sorry, I'm just gonna. There was one more. Right, here we go. So, because of the type of books that you write, Albert, so this is one from Ancient Ruby. Have any of the panel actually met or had a one-to-one with another being not of this world?
I believe I had a couple times. I had encounter with shadow people, which I failed to mention. Those scary as hell too. When I encountered something one time that I wasn't sure what to make of it. I was driving out of my mom's apartment complex, turning the car, and I looked behind the rear view mirror, and there was somebody standing in the middle of the road, all white. He looked like 7 feet tall at least. He was a broad shoulder.
Yeah.
And I just stare at it. I when you first see something like this, you don't know what you're like, deny it. Okay, so I was not what is that? And it would look like a man wearing something white, but looked like broad shoulder, and on the back it looked like wings. I swear to God. And I just looked at it, and it was turning around, and I just drove away. I forgot about it for weeks after that. Till like one day, I said,
"Weird, isn't it? How you forget about it?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell did I?
I cannot get my head around that.
Mm-hmm.
I
think it's part of the protection system, the forgetting, until your brain has decided now you can remember it.
Like a defensive system or something.
Yeah. Is it us forgetting, or is it a message from them making us forget?
Could be both. We've always got more options than one.
Yeah.
Like, I believe belief is a strange thing. I remember years ago attempting to do an exorcism of a person who was a really evil little bastard. And he was worried about all of these things, and we both reckon during this exorcism there was a 6 foot wide green spider in the room with us.
Yeah.
And the only way we could get rid of it was to complete the exorcism. And it was basically yelling and screaming at each other until one of us actually won. If that makes any sense. But, you see things in the side of your eye. Like, I tell Madam every now and again that I'm sure I saw a pterodactyl hanging off a tree across the railway cutting from our place.
Yeah.
Hanging upside down from a branch, as happy as a pterodactyl will be. But have I? Have I not?
For some reason, they've been seen a lot, those pterodactyl type. Yeah, different places.
I've seen one.
Yeah, have they flown in from
I've
another
actually
dimension
seen
or
one.
not?
And on Heart, 100%, I watched it fly across the sky.
Yeah. I call them big bird reports.
So what was it? A time slip from them that they all of a sudden they broke through the time barrier and they flew over here and then they went back to
Well, if you believe in the multiverse, I remember when I was little, we were told this little saying that says heaven's only an inch away from your outstretched finger, and I kept trying to reach it and never got there.
Yeah.
I think it's an old English thing because Australia's very Anglo, where it was then even more so than now. And every dimension is around us. So sometimes things just go flapping in and out of it, and like our chupacabras and others, or chupacabras. They wander out, they wander in. You know,
Yeah.
they've got off on the wrong platform and headed off again, and others go onto the wrong platform and are never seen again.
Yeah.
Because I've had a couple. I just remembered driving home at 3 o'clock in the morning years ago as a passenger in 1977, I think. Well, before you two were born. Maybe a bit. Yeah, well.
All three of us.
No. I was born.
And we're driving back in an old
Oh.
Holden
I was in the Navy then.
from Sydney to Wagga. And I swear I just remembered seeing one hanging from a lamppost. Another pterodactyl.
That's cool, man.
Because it's at shadow time and shadow lands at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's when everything goes off. You're more open to it. There's less static around if you want to look at it electromagnetically.
Yeah.
And things come along.
Well, mine was around about 11 o'clock at night. I'd been in the back garden stargazing, watching a few lights dancing and what have you. What first of all looked like stars, then realised it wasn't. So the house was behind me, so I turned around to go back in the house and just caught something, corner of my eye, looked up, eyes watched it, and it just went across the sky as slow as that. I must have been watching it, I reckon, for about 20 seconds till I couldn't see it. Didn't flap, didn't go off course, it just went straight line. And it was a really, like the colour of this bottle up against the black sky, so you could just see the shape of it. I could see its head, its underbelly, the wings,
Wow.
back feet, the tail, even like the diamond bit at the back of its tail. And I'm just, I had my phone in my hand. And I'm just like, didn't even contemplate taking a picture or a video or anything. I just watched it.
I'm getting called, so
You've got to go.
Estoy hablando yo. Sorry about that.
That's you, Toad. Yeah, and just watched it till it was out of sight. There's no flashing lights. There's no noise.
Weird.
That was it. It was exciting, but when you think you're going to see something like that, you're going to think loads of action like you see in the movies, and it was just like it's being pulled on a string.
All right, so it's been great talking to all you guys. Let's do it again. Tommy, nice meeting you.
Lovely
George,
to meet you, man.
Finally, I got to speak to you, George. I'm
You're
updating
one of my heroes of research.
You're mine, but I'm already updating my database and corrected a lot of it, so I'll be sending you some stuff soon.
No, I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Albert and I have been sharing a lot of knowledge over quite a few years now.
Yes.
You guys take care of yourselves.
Yeah. You too, Albert. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay. Take care.
Take care, mate.
Bye.
Thank you, Albert.
Right,
That was great.
well,
I've always wanted to meet him.
There you go. So yeah, he'll come back on again. He's always good for coming on.
I bloody hope so. I
Yeah,
hope
definitely.
I haven't taken too much of his time today.
No. He said he had to leave at about past. He's got to He's got to be the family taxi for a while. So
Yeah.
it happens to us all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, he'll come back on again. He's a great guy, so it's all good.
He's got a wealth of knowledge.
Yes.
His research is phenomenal. What he does is just great.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I do. He thinks mine is too, so I often wonder. Okay, Tommy. When did you first see your first prehistoric creature wandering across?
I've not seen a pterodactyl yet. I want to. That would be amazing.
Sorry, out.
Yeah.
You haven't seen a pterodactyl. Piss off.
Not yet. I've seen a lot of weird things. I've seen shadow people and all sorts. But my first experience that I can remember was when I was 10 years old. Me and my brother shared a room, and we had bunk beds. And I was on the top bunk. And I woke up during the night, and I've looked down at my desk that was just opposite the bed, and there was a man sitting there, full-bodied, at my desk like this, just sort of looking in sort of my direction, but I don't know if he was looking at me, but he was like just there, and I freaked out. You know, I've screamed for my mum. This guy looked like, I always say he looked like William Shakespeare.
Right.
I don't think it was William Shakespeare. He just had that look. That's just how I remember. That's the look. I could see he had like long hair. He had like a little beard, and he just was dressed like from that era. And I'm just watching this guy, and I'm freaking out. My mum's come in. I'm going, Mum, there's a man in the room. There's a man in the room. I can see him. He's not going anywhere. And she couldn't see him. She's going, she calming me down. Never disappeared, this man. He stayed there. And she was going up to the desk, and he didn't move. He didn't go anywhere. Somehow my mum got me to stay in the room that night. I don't know how, because I was hysterical. And I just remember going under my covers, sweating up, looking every now and again, but he never left. Like, he stayed there the whole night, and it freaked me out massively, obviously. And I just remember waking up in the morning, he was gone. That was my first big experience.
Did you ever see him again? Oh, sorry.
It wasn't a particularly old house. It was literally right next to a graveyard, though. So I don't know if there was a connection there, but it was a haunted house. There definitely was. We all felt it. That house was haunted. It had weird noises going on all the time, and my brother saw something in the room as well. There was one night he woke up and he saw eyes in the room, staring at him. So it was a haunted house. I saw other little things in there, nothing quite like that, but I had other experiences in there, hearing noises and just getting a weird vibe from it. And so that was my first big experience.
Did you ever see him again?
No, never saw him again. No.
See, this is one of my questions now. Out of all the encounters I've ever had, I've never really had the same experience twice. I've never seen the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You see it that once, and then all the other encounters I've had have been something different.
The only time I've experienced the same thing, I think, when I was 21. When I was 21, same thing. I was in my room, but me and my brother shared a room. This was in a different house, but we still shared a room. We had a bit of a bigger room, but it was a bit of an upgrade anyway. I woke up during the night, and we weren't in bunk beds this time, but we had our own beds, and there was a shadow figure standing over me. At the time, I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know what shadow figures. I only recently really know what they are now. But I woke up, and obviously there's this thing standing over me, blacker than the room, how people describe shadow people.
Yeah.
And it was the shape of a man. And I'm terrified. I've screamed out. I've actually I've took a swing at this thing, and it's disappeared. I've obviously made a noise while I've done this, because my brother on the other side of the room woke up, turned the light on, and went, "Brother, what's the matter? What's the matter?" And I explained what happened. I literally thought it was him just playing a prank or whatever. I don't know why he'd do that in the middle of the night, but and I didn't know what that was. I didn't put it down to being a shadow person. I just thought I may have been. It was during my university days, so I thought I might have had a few too many drinks, and I just put it down to. I put it down to that, and I didn't see any other shadow people, anything like that, until recently. And I mean, like a few months ago, say 4 or 5 months ago, wherever it was. And I think it's doing the show that I do, talking to people about it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's sort of maybe not brought it back, open the doors. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had the experience twice in my new house where I've woken up and something's there. But the difference is now is I don't get a nasty feeling. It does scare me. You know, you wake up and you see something there. It's freaky. But it's a different sort of feeling now. It's not something I want to happen often. I don't like it. But,
no.
Yeah.
Alien Woods is asking, what was the house number?
The house number?
Can you recall?
Man. I think it was 92.
And the second house?
The second house, what was the number? I should remember this. It was 20 something, I think. 21, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's definitely right, though. 92 was definitely that house.
Yeah.
I can't remember the second house. How can I not remember the number of the house? I think it was 20 something. I can't
Yeah.
remember. That's bad. The house I'm in now is 41.
Ah, right. Because the same person, Alien Woods, in numerology, if your house adds up to 5, and there's usually houses with 5 of a lot of activity. So if you're in 41, there's 5.
Yeah. Interesting.
Did our old house add up to 5, darling?
See, where I had my first encounter, that was number 8. Then where I had the equivalent to Skinwalker Ranch every other day, that was number 6. So 8 and 6, 14, 4 and 1, 5.
Yeah.
Could be onto something.
Interesting.
Yeah, 229. Our old house we just sold was 229, which is 4 and
13, 1 and 3, 4.
yeah, it's not a 5.
No.
But it
Nearly
was
a 5.
regarded as the most haunted house in Picton.
Wow.
And our town
how
is
long-
regarded as the most haunted village in Australia.
Oh,
How
wow.
long did you live there?
We moved there in 94. We demolished the house in 2000 and exercised it completely. And I mean completely. It was right
to
down
the
to the
ground.
dirt. Then the block was exercised. And then we built the new house on top of it, which was a copy of the old one. And there's a period Madam recalls when a house had a weird history. A quarter of it was missing. It had burnt down in the 1970s during a renovation. This is an old 1830s inn, typical Australian colonial long thing with a big veranda. And they bricked up the in-between part and turned it into a semi-detached. And I found the door one day and unbricked it. At Margaret's in the new dining room we'd uncovered that led to a hallway to nowhere because half of it was missing. You'd open doors and there was nothing there. And she'd set it up nice, looked pretty, a big long farmhouse table in the middle of it. And next second, this black cowed figure comes through the door I've just unbricked. Straight across, knocked everything off this big farmhouse table, vases and the lot, and out a door that hadn't been unbricked yet, but was there. And it scared the shit out of her.
Wow.
But what's a cowed figure doing in Australia? It's a different mythology. Cowed figures in England? Yeah, all over the place. Dead monks. But a black cowed figure charged from that door I just unbricked. Straight through this long room, across the table, knocked everything off it, and out another door that hadn't been unsealed yet. The day after I did it, we had it exercised pretty soon after. Again, we'd had it exercised a few times, that house. Because Margaret remembered talking to somebody, one of the previous owners of it. That was a dump, had a demolition notice on it. And she said, oh, the good times we had here and the bad times. One cousin, he commits suicide, hanging himself off a tree in the yard. And we had a huge camphor laurel tree. It went.
Yeah.
And somebody else committed suicide, and the neighbour in the flat that had been created, she was schizophrenic. But she wasn't after she left the house. She just saw things in there. But after we exercised it and rebuilt it, we never had trouble in the house after the rebuilding, did we? No, it was all beforehand. But it was regarded as the most haunted house and the most haunted village in Australia.
Wow.
We've moved. We now live in a brand new place on top of a hill. Oddly enough, in a place called Gilead, and people have been saying, Gilead? That's that show on TV. The Handmaid's Tale. I said, no, well, it's not.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
I keep getting told to watch that, but
I watched it for 5 minutes and thought it was boring.
no, that'll do. I'm not going to bother. That's the review that I wanted.
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, you're in England, which is spook central.
Well, yeah.
But then again, it might be a language-centric thing because most of the books I read are in English, and so they write about England.
Yeah, makes sense.
Most of the books on UFOs I read are in English because I can't read any other languages fluently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to. I read translations of them, but there are a lot of them that have never been translated.
Yep. Right. We've got a couple more questions, and then we can talk about the book that you went and got. Is that
That
okay?
can be another program. It doesn't matter.
Are you sure?
Are you haven't gone to sleep yet, Tommy?
No,
No.
I'm still here.
Wake up, lad. Wake up.
It's the cardboard cutout. Right.
Second, shut up.
Right. We've got 2 questions for Tommy, so I'll
Yep.
do them first. So, first one's from Adam. If you were to write a book, what subject would you write about?
Oh, good question. It'd have to be all paranormal. I love it all. I love
Yeah.
it. Ghosts, cryptids, UFOs. It would be on that
Just a mix
subject.
of everything.
Yeah, because as you were saying earlier, I feel like it's all connected anyway. Like
Yeah.
there's even conspiracies. It's all connected to the paranormal. And I love it. I love it all. So that's what I'd write a book on.
Cheers. And then another one from Adam for you. What's Tommy's favourite book or writer on the subject?
See, I need to read more books, to be honest. I'm more of a podcast guy. I listen to podcasts all the time.
It's just easier, isn't it?
Yeah, because you can do other things while you're listening. And
Yeah.
But favorite book, I do read books. I mean,
Yeah.
I read a great Bigfoot book recently called Enoch,
Right.
and I can't remember the lady that wrote it. It was really interesting. She basically became friends with a guy that in Florida that had a connection, he said, with a family of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And he reached out to this lady. I think she was like, I don't know if she was on American TV or something. She was quite well known. He reached out to her because he trusted her, and she sort of built up a relationship with him. And he told her stuff about his experiences with the Bigfoot. And it was just a super interesting book. Enoch, I can't remember the lady that wrote it, but I recommend it if you're into the Bigfoot subject.
Yeah. Well, Jo, the moderator, she might be able to find, if she jumps on Google and lets us know who the author is. Thank you,
Cool.
Jo. And then we have 2 more questions. This one's actually from Jo, and this is for all of us. Do you think governments are making hybrids?
Possibly. I mean,
I think they're involved, I suppose, in splicing, but whether they can actually make them out, I don't know. I think that might be a different story altogether.
I mean, I've spoke to guys in the military that say that the government know about Bigfoot, Dogman.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's a possibility.
Yeah. Sober Carper's support. Autumn Williams wrote the book.
Yes, that's it. Great book.
It's called Enoch.
Enoch, yeah. Really good, really interesting.
Yeah. I'll have to have a look for that. Is that an Audible?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
There's a Kindle edition.
Laser. I'm too busy to read books. I just have to, like you with the podcast, I have to listen to it while I'm doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just doesn't happen.
I do enjoy reading, though. I really do.
Yeah.
It's just getting the time to do it.
Once you get into it, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, George. What did you say?
No, it is available on Kindle.
Oh, yeah.
Enoch. It doesn't say whether. It says as a child, Autumn Williams saw 2 hair-covered creatures standing in the woods behind her home in Washington State.
That's it, yeah.
Florida, yeah.
So she had her experience when she was a little girl.
Yes.
I believe that was in California.
Yeah. No, Washington.
Yeah. And she saw it, so that sort of started her interest in the subject.
Yeah.
And then she met that guy. It's very interesting.
Oh. Her mother wrote a book too.
Oh, okay.
Called Valley of the Skookum, 4 Years of Encounters with Bigfoot.
Ah,
The Skookum is a name for a Bigfoot in a particular valley in Washington State with a big lake in
right.
it, Lake Skookum, and it's had lots of sightings.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's the advantage of two screens. I can just run onto one, the other, and stop the
Yeah.
screen from going black.
Yeah. I've got all my stuff up on the TV, but then everything else is there. So that's what if you see me keep looking over there, it's because I'm reading stuff.
Now I sit between my two 30-inch monitors, so
I can't because of the position of everything.
yeah,
Otherwise, I'd just be looking at. I'd just be sat there like that.
yeah.
Just see
Oh, I
the
got them
side of my head.
diagonally in front of me like that.
Well, that's how I had it, but then I had to get a bigger screen, so I've got our old TV, and then I've got a monitor. It's just, it's easy. I just try and glance over and hope no one sees me, but it doesn't work.
I've just got one screen.
Yeah. Well, I did. I started off with one, but it sounds cheap, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So when you've got all the cameras on there, then you've got to get stuff up on there. Then I'm bringing stuff onto the screen from the files. It's just easier. Otherwise, I can't see what's going on. So
Yeah, I can't work without two screens.
no, I am gonna. By the end of summer, it's going to be free. So it's not being greedy. It's just so much easier. The more screens, the easier it is.
Yeah.
So it's that. I've got the screen. I've got another two monitors, but I've just at the moment there's nowhere to put them. So
what makes me a little unusual as far as a lot of authors go is I've got a right-hand screen, the middle screen, and our 55-inch TV's just over there. Because quite often it's on, and I'm watching it while I'm researching and editing. Which some people find quite strange because they, don't come near me, I'm trying to think and I'm going to lose my train of thought. Oh, poor little me.
Well, I've got Alexa show. So I watch stuff on that. I'll listen to music on that while I'm doing all my editing. So it's just relaxing.
That's how you work comfortably. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
we're doing it so much. We need to be able to add something nice as well.
This is my go-to place. Just get away from everyday normality. The irony.
There's
always
normality.
This is normal.
There's always a banality to sightings too.
Yes. Yeah.
A strange normality. You start reading thousands of them, and look at them. They're all behind me. Because as I said, I only use published sources. Somebody's putting their testicular fortitude on the line by actually writing and publishing something, which isn't easy. They've got a pretty good belief in it.
Yeah. I just need to do something quickly because someone was put in the chat. So I'm just going to say, Alexa, play random cat noises. And this is the reason why. I'll tell you now. There you go. Yeah, for
I
that
didn't hear
reason.
them.
No, they're on. So they're not on mine.
Oh,
Simon, who's one of the guys who's watching.
yeah.
When I said Alexa, it kicked in.
Yeah, okay.
But mine's got a different name. So there's like 4 different names you can choose for it. So I've got the most obscure one.
Do you know what? So, my next door neighbour, I shouted Alexa the other day and I heard him. I don't normally hear him a lot, but I heard Alexa and my Alexa switched on. And started playing. I was like, man, how has that happened?
Well, I've got some of my lights, the strip lights, linked up to it. So if I'm out in the garden, I've left them on, like bedroom windows open, I'll shout up through the window, turn them off.
I don't have Alexa, but my computer tries to talk to me.
What is it?
You'll see the little screen come up and it's doing things and says, not now, go away.
Yeah.
But the scariest thing was, Madam and I were driving, looking for something in a suburb near here, a couple of years ago. We're talking about trying to find a doctor somewhere. The next second, the car said, "There are no doctors around here." We looked at each other and held our mouths and tried not to say anything. And no, there are no doctors around here. Yeah, what was that? Then it suggested a car service station.
Oh,
That's amazing. The system's just listening.
Yeah, they're listening, man, for sure.
So, a couple of years ago, before it was about 4 years ago now, before I started the job I'm doing now, we'd be sat downstairs watching TV and we'd always end up falling asleep on the sofa. I think it was a weekend because this was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I think we've been watching a movie. And I've had an iPad and an Apple phone, and both of them alternately with Siri. So it'd make the noise for Siri to come on and it'd go, "I don't understand what you were saying."
Oh, yeah.
And then the phone would do it. And we just like woke up looking at each other, and it kept doing it about 7 or 8 times. I'm like, I turned them both off. Shut them down.
And you're trying not to say anything or laugh because you're going to start talking again.
There's always been back there. I think the TV had gone off, so there's no noise. Like, it was on a movie. It wasn't Netflix where it then plays the next one and so on. It was like gone and TV had shut down and that.
Yeah.
And then this would just kept lighting up and...
House does that.
Yeah.
The phone does it. The car does it.
It only did it this one night.
Yeah.
Didn't do it before, didn't do it after.
Interesting. It's hearing something,
Computer does it.
Yeah.
No, so I don't know. Didn't leave it on to find out any more than that. Thinking I should have done an EVP or something, but I didn't have any of the equipment then. It was before I started doing any of this. So it had just been, I turned my phone off, so I couldn't even record it. Yeah. It's just one of those.
Was your phone off at the time?
No, the phone was on and the iPad was on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's alternately. Siri was started on the phone, then the iPad, then the phone, then the...
They're talking to each other.
Then the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, not creepy at all. About 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's always that time as well, isn't it? 2-3 o'clock.
Yeah.
The witching hour.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to that than we normally think.
Yeah. I'll tell you something that happened literally the other day.
Yeah.
This is not too crazy, but it's quite strange. So, my wife heard a door slam in the house. Right, which can happen. There's a draft, whatever, door slams. But instantly in her mind, she was like, you're right, Nan. Like, that's what she said. She got that feeling like, made her think of her Nan.
She got a message.
Yeah. But then she spoke to her mum the same day, didn't say anything about that. And she said, last night, our house alarm went off during the night, 3 o'clock in the morning. And that never happens. She said that hasn't happened ever. Anyway, it's gone off 3 o'clock in the morning. She's gone downstairs and it says someone was detected in the kitchen and there's no one's broken in. All the doors are locked. You know, there was no one there.
Yeah.
And it turns out that was the day that her Nan passed a couple of years ago.
Okay, yeah.
She
was visiting.
The anniversary.
Yeah.
That's not rare.
No.
It's not rare for them to visit on anniversaries. Technically, they're supposed to be passed over on the third day.
Yeah.
Okay.
But sometimes they come back. The worst ones are the ones that don't leave.
Yeah.
But generally 3 days, pack your bags, go.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to everyone.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which now brings me to the next question. So this is from Nellie Kelly. Does anyone on the panel think there is a reason some places are more active than others, and why do they think this?
I mean, I think when obviously when you get a place that's had traumatic events and stuff like that, obviously leaves a lot of energy. We've obviously got a load of energy that we're always putting out. And
Yeah.
I think that plays a part. So if something big happens somewhere and a lot of people have experienced it and pushed out that energy, it stays there. I think possibly. I mean, I don't know, but I think that could be a reason why you get areas and places that seem to have a lot of activity.
But then you've also got to remember how old or how young the Earth is, depending what you believe, how much has gone on in pretty much every area that
Yeah,
hasn't been recorded in history that we don't actually know anything about.
yeah, yeah,
So you've got all that to think about as well as what the history that you do know.
yeah, for sure.
So you've got all these battlefields, or you've got where castles have been built, or medieval villages, or in the UK's England's thing, historic market towns. But that's what it is. But then you've got everything else that was before that we know
Yeah,
absolutely nothing about.
yeah,
But there's also everywhere alongside that.
Mm,
And alongside that,
yeah.
there's some theories that the multiverse is just a fraction away and a fraction different
But but
to
what if
everything
it is?
that's there.
But what if it's not different and it's the same and it's just layers on layers?
I don't see the point in having the same. I'd have one and then
Well,
start
no,
varying it.
yeah. So you'd have one layer which says this, then you've got another layer where
It's almost
we're
this.
not humans, we're some sort of like
It's a multiverse. We can have anything.
humanoids, and then another layer where we're dog people.
Yeah.
And do you know what I mean? Each layer is a completely different, the same as what we're doing now, but different features for us and our surroundings.
Yes, you could look at it like that. They're just all variations on the same theme because we don't know how infinite is. Because it's infinite.
yeah,
Yeah. But that's the thing, we
But
don't
in the
know.
general
We don't
scheme
know.
of things, without allowing for an infinity of multiverses, which gets really confusing in very big numbers because you can't calculate them,
No.
we have energy vortexes, as we know of. And every now and again, they flare up and then they're gone again. You know, these things don't run 24 hours a day. They
No.
run every now and again. And we get back to my mate, that,
Yeah.
the sine waves of occurrences. Oh, that's 1800 to 1977.
wow,
Thousands of events. On the
wow,
left is England. On the right, well, it's easier. This side is Britain and England, Britain and the United and Europe. This side is the United States. Just as an example,
Yeah.
that's time going forward. That's latitude and longitude. It took,
wow.
as I said, I started that thing in '73.
Yeah.
I had more, but I burned them, and I had the shits with it, so I just destroyed a lot of them. That one somehow managed to escape, and I'm glad it did. As these things intersect, you get little ones that are virtually a bubble, and then they intersect sometimes with bigger ones and bigger ones, and like 1897, it's a big intersection, and
Yeah.
it covers half the North American continent, where people are seeing stuff everywhere, but none of it's actually real. It it interacts with our reality. It leaves dents. It knocks over steeples, like at Aurora in Texas. It crashed into a windmill and blew up. They buried the pilot. They said he came from Mars and they even had a headstone until the 40s stating he came from Mars. Then the headstone disappeared.
Wow.
That's the Aurora incident, Aurora. And then it was all quiet again until 1909, 1910, another big one in England. And yet at the same time in England and Wales, there's a massive religious revival going on. You get things coexisting why are they coexisting at the same time?
There's
And in
gotta be something.
1947 was crazy over the United States. That was the apparent beginning of a flying
Yeah.
saucer age. Like now we know they go back millennia.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen medieval paintings with fly UFOs sitting in them.
Yeah.
We've seen Paleolithic cave drawings at Les Madeleines in France of UFOs.
Yeah.
Because how could people who can draw a bison and it looks like the most anatomically perfect looking bison, then they draw a disc thing on 3 legs standing on the ground with funny little people in front of it? How can they suddenly become totally abstract and say it's just a religious symbol by the same artist?
Yeah.
Well, different people's perception, isn't it?
It is. But
That's
the
what
thing
it
is, these are the same people who painted the Magdalenian bison on the same wall paintings.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they
If
show
they
up in
painted
different
that
parts of
little
the
thing
world.
realistically, that was how it looked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets confusing.
It does. It does.
Interesting,
Right.
man.
We have reached the end of time. Well, not the end of time.
Now, that's
But
next
the end of time for a Friday evening. So I want to thank you both for coming on, and obviously Albert as well. Joe put in the chat, Tommy, are you
Hi,
good
Joe.
to come on and do a one-to-one? So me just
Yeah.
interview you like you did me.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'll sort
100%.
something out because we're going to be chatting next week again anyway, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah.
With your
Yeah,
show,
cool, man.
so
Yeah.
yeah. So
Awesome.
yes, and hopefully George, you'll come back on soon.
Well, my days are freer now, so
Yes, part
Cool, man.
timer now.
yes. Can't
George,
afford to retire,
I'd
but
love
at
to-
least I can get part-time.
I'd love to get you on Let's Get Freaky too, if you wouldn't mind coming on, sir.
Oh, never. You got a red beard.
Can't say
Oh,
that,
okay.
George.
I'll shave it.
No, don't you dare.
Yeah.
You're my English woodwoes.
Yeah, yeah. That's
It's
it.
the correct term, woodwoes for
That's
Bigfoot.
it,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, no, anytime. But I'm only free Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
if you want to have a slightly, do you pre-record?
Yeah, pre-record. So
That
any
means I
time
don't
that's
get
good
up
for
at
you.
5 o'clock in the morning. Good.
No, any time that's good for you, man.
Yeah, that's fine.
Don't know what you're talking about, George.
Awesome.
The first time he ever interviewed me, we got the times mixed up.
I have
I
to
thought it was
phone him.
7:30. I'm in bed. He rings me. My wife's up. She's a
4
night owl.
o'clock in the morning.
Get out of bed. 4 o'clock in the
4
morning.
o'clock.
Get me a coffee. Put on a top
Oh,
and a jumper. We're ready.
Literally 10
Oh,
minutes.
man.
It was still a good
It was
a good
good.
interview.
That was our first one, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
What was that?
Oh,
Like
that's cool,
18 months ago? It's
I
got to
think
be.
it's over that.
No, I don't think, because I didn't start doing the interviewing straight away. I was out doing the investigations.
Yeah, well, maybe 18 months ago. It just seems like we've been talking forever.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
In a good way.
I know, it's all good. It's great. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah,
I just
do.
worry about myself because I tend to override everything.
Joe, it doesn't matter. We all do.
Yeah.
I repeat myself about 100 times in 2 hours. So
Anyway,
don't worry about
I'd love
it.
to be on your show, Tommy. Thank you for having me, Andy. I don't want to see you
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
Hey.
No,
that'd
I
be
don't
an
mind
honour,
talking
man.
about what I'm doing. Like I'm being interviewed in Canada tomorrow, so
Yeah. Oh,
I
awesome.
still don't leave my library.
Yeah. We'll do any
That's
time
the
that's good for you
advantage
as
of
well.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get my
Right.
email address from Andy.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll
Oh,
send
thank you very
everything
much.
over. Do you know
Thank
what?
you
I'll
very
set up
much.
a chat between the 3 of us and then I'll just drop out of it. Be easier,
That'd be
won't it?
cool. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, then I could just leave you two to it and get the bromance going.
Yeah,
Or you
that's
can
it, man.
stay there or whatever. You know.
I'll
Yeah, you
stay
can
in.
stay.
I'll let you two
Stop.
work it
Stay
out.
in.
I'll stay in. I'll stay in.
We need to talk to Earl again anyway.
Oh, he's coming on in a couple of weeks.
Well,
So-
without me. Bloody hell.
Yeah, sorry. He's coming on with so far Chris Evers from OLM, Outer Limits magazine. So me and Earl are going to be interviewing Chris, something like that. Anyway, we just need to finalise it, but it's pretty much all set up.
It's called
And then-
networking.
Yes, and then
Oh,
I've got
that'd be.
I'm interviewing Agnost. He's Norwegian but lives.
Yeah, no, he interviewed me a few years ago.
Ah, right, yeah, he lives in California. So Preston Dennett, that was on, I think it was last week or the week before. Preston's going to come on and co-host with me on that one for Ag. So that would be another good one.
Yes, you're getting the best ones.
Yeah. Oh,
And me.
definitely. Yeah. Your top shelf right there.
Thank you, Andy. I really appreciate it.
It's true. So yeah, just before we do go, like you said, there is the next stream is on Wednesday, which is a book review with Chris Meek from Scottish Paranormal Podcast. I'm going to quickly play the intro video that I made. So, because it's not going to be the normal intro, because obviously we're not talking full paranormal, it's like one subject. So I'm going to play this. Guys, let me know what you think. And if it's crap, I'll just bin it and not bother. So it's just a quick cartoony type thing, but here we go. That's it. Good,
Cool, man.
bad.
Excellent.
I'm joking. That is quality.
That took me about 45 minutes.
Oh wow,
So,
that's good, man. That's
I'm
cool.
getting a bit better and quicker at it. I just needed something short and sweet and not too much detail like I've done with this one. So
I'd really like to do one day where I get all the drawings from that into an interview.
oh, we can do that next time then if you want.
Because that's when people really get the impact of what actually happened in the Younger Dryas.
Right. Well then, do you want to?
That's an impact event, Tommy. That's 1,500 kilometres across.
Wow.
Do you want to take some photos of
That one. They're all on the net.
Wow.
Oh.
You just have to whip up a copy of one of my books and just take them out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'll just save images.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Right. Send me the link to the book then, so I know which one I'm looking for. Because even though you just shown me, I've already forgot the name of it.
The Great Cataclysm.
Yeah. By the time I've pressed end broadcast, I'll forgot again.
I know.
My memory is shocking.
I've got a forgettery.
I've always had a crap memory.
I used to have an eidetic memory. Now it's forget it.
Yeah. It's just
Madam reckons I've shoved too much into it, and I just.
I remember it for when I need to.
Yeah,
I remember it for when I need to, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Gone into the abyss forever, never to be seen or heard of again.
Lost memories. Where do they go?
Yeah, that's the biggest memory bank that there is. I think lost memories.
It's like when I get a shopping list. When the wife gives me a shopping list, she can give me 5 things, and I'll go, I won't forget it. I won't forget it. I get to the shop, it's gone. I remember 2 things.
You know what?
That's it.
Even if there's only 2 things on that bit of paper, I take that bit of paper with me.
Yeah,
I take it. Oh,
the last time, and this is not even a joke. So the local shop, it's just like a little spa type thing. I had the owner walking around with to make sure I was actually picking up what he said on the paper. just in case I got it wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And you're in trouble, man.
don't ask.
And the advantage of mobiles is you can ring from the supermarket and, all right, which
Yep.
one of
Oh.
margarines do you want? Salted, unsalted, with or
Every
without?
single
Every
time.
time. Yeah.
I have a list and I ring and I
Yeah.
have the shop owner
Yeah.
and I probably still get it wrong.
Yeah.
If we remember
I'm
to
not
go to
even
the shop.
joking. That's
Yes.
what's so funny about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but we
been
are
great.
gonna have to end this. So massive
you.
thank you, Tommy, George, and Albert. I know he's not here now, but you guys for coming on. It's been absolutely
Thank you very
amazing
much.
as always. This is going out on a podcast as well, so it's going to be on all your podcast players. This will be uploaded in about an hour and a half.
Okay, send it to me because I couldn't do your ads because I got send on them and I don't know how to do send into the share.
Oh, you click on the three dots and copy link.
But the actual ad that was sent, yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. It wouldn't cut and paste either.
Oh, right.
It broke all the pictures to words.
I have to do it on my phone because I don't know how to do it on the computer. It's completely different, even though it's the same platform. It's just stupid.
But the link I can put there.
Yeah. So what I'll do once I've downloaded it and it's up on YouTube, I'll send a copy to both of you. And then
Awesome.
if you want to share it, that's entirely up to you. If you want to keep it for yourselves,
I'll share it.
Whatever you want to do, it's your call. Right, so we're going to end this now. So on Wednesday, it's me and Chris. We're going to do Mothman Prophecies by John A. Keel. That's 7 o'clock, around about 2 hours. And then next Friday, I've got Glenn Richardson coming on from NEPS, which is it Northern England Paranormal Society?
Yep.
I'm sure it's that. He was supposed to come on a bit ago, but he got called out on an investigation that he couldn't turn down. So he's coming on that. Then I've got the 7th, got Cal Ridley, who does Paranormal Verses with Michael Kopf. She's done a few other different things as well. And then the Friday after that, got Chris Evers and Earl Grey. And then some more good ones after that. So if you want to check them, you can go on the website, which is all up and running. Still a few updates that I need to do on it, but the basics are there. You can click on the links. It will take you to all the pages, the groups. There's a little bio that I've put on and what have you. And it's just andydecodes.com. You don't have to do the www or the https and / and all that. It's just andydecodes.com. And that's it.
Awesome.
So, right. So have a wonderful day, George. Have a top evening, Tommy. I'll give you a call over the weekend to sort out that for next week and let you know what day.
Cool, man.
I'll do the group as well in a minute, so you and George can connect and get started on that one.
Awesome.
So
thanks very much for having me on, man. It's been an honor.
Thank you. It's been absolutely amazing. So, right. So I'm going to end it now. Take care. Thanks everyone in the chat. Thank you everyone that's downloading the podcast. Don't forget to go on the website. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Take care and goodbye.